Lunar Silver Star Story Complete is simply excellent. I mean it. It's simple and it's excellent. And there's no shame in its simplicity. The excellence of this game, I believe, lies in a mix of several different awesome but simple elements. And this really makes Lunar stand out among other games that are even more broad in scope, broad in topic, and just overall more epic, one may argue. And the proof is that we're still here. We're still here discussing it years and years and remakes later. Why? Lunar Silver Star Story Complete begins with the protagonist, Alex, living in the village of Berg. Inspired by the tales of dragon masters who protect the goddess Althena, Alex sets out on a journey to become one himself.
She will become one herself.
Alongside his childhood friend Luna and other companions like Nal and Ramus and Nash, Alex discovers friendship. Kinda. Alex discovers that the world of Lunar is facing a grave threat. This is the kind of grave threat that makes one clutch the pearls. The primary antagonist, a former ally of the heroes of the previous Dragon Master, turns against them in his pursuit for power. Fix the world by breaking it sort of ambition is what this guy's going for, right? This person, like many evil people, particularly Saturday morning cartoon villains, aims to reshape the world according to their vision. Kinda like Cobra Commander. This leads Alex and his friends on a quest to stop them. I mean, naturally, right? The story delves into the lore of Lunar, exploring the relationship between Althena, the goddess of the world, and her people, including the dreaded Magic Emperor, Sir Badman of No Goodness. Luna, Alex's friend, is more than meets the eye, wink wink, and her connection to Althena becomes a central element of the plot. The climax of the game sees Alex and his companions confronting this Magic Emperor to prevent the destruction of Lunar. I mean, they're literally friends working to save the world from ending. That's generic? But that's good generic. It's simple. It may seem tired to hear this story of saving the world over and over, but ask yourself, why are we still playing games then, and talking about games then, that this happens in? Well, it's because it's a pretty, solid premise. It's a noble goal. Helping grandmas cross the street might seem a little cliche, but if everyone stops, well, sorry mama. Regarding the gameplay of Lunar, it's basically a turn-based RPG with a little spice, a little glitter. The special thing about it is that the characters move around the combat field. Characters can cast magic that affects the spaces around them or specific enemies, and the spell will only affect, typically, a specific area. This brings a little bit of strategy into placement of characters. You can't truly choose where to place a character, but if you tell them to go melee something far away, they'll start moving that way. If they have enough movement, they'll make it and they'll hit the enemy, they'll mollywop them. If they're too far away, they'll continue moving until they're out of what we would call turns, I suppose. If you decide to cast a spell, you cast your spell and move on. It's really not complicated, but it's spicy enough to keep you from just spamming attack most of the time. The numbers are a bit tight in this game. Working designs up the difficulty of the encounters by cranking up some numbers. There are mods of this game that bring the numbers back down, and that's the one I played most recently, and that is a very welcome change to this game. Don't get me wrong, I did play through the original copy on PlayStation 1 when I received it when I was in like 6th grade. But as I'm older, I appreciate the reprieve. It's handy being able to see enemies on the playing field, so you can attempt to avoid them, but if you do end up in a fight with them, buddy, you're paying the price. It's a bit of a grind because of this. Despite being a mostly turn-based RPG, it's certainly difficult, and this is mostly due to managing resources, which is where a lot of this difficulty comes from, right? So if you like challenges, shoot, here you go. Save often. I mentioned the numbers because it's just sort of a simplicity that's magic. You better be ready to rock and roll because you're unlikely to luck your way through these encounters. As simple as something like this sounds, there's comfort in knowing this system. If you aren't experienced enough, you will die. There are so many memorable tunes in this game. The PlayStation 1 Complete version came with a soundtrack disc, and I used to bump that soundtrack while playing other RPGs. This is shameful, I know. I should be listening to those soundtracks, but man, this one is so good. I particularly enjoyed the Berg music, Luna's song, of course, and then of course, brace for impact, this thing. I have listened to this title track maybe more than any other RPG song from any other video game. I know that's a tall order, but it's one of my favorites. I used to burn CDs with all sorts of wild stuff from the 90s on it, and then I'd add this song in the middle of the mix. It is amazing. What an incredible song of wonder, of adventure, and of heroism. It's nothing terribly complicated, it's the simplicity that makes it amazing. And with that, this should be a comfortable transition into Hot Diggity Dog. This is why I loved CD media video games. Cutscenes like this are just my aesthetic. Oh my goodness. They can be incredible, they can be corny, they can be a little thirsty, but they are always entertaining for me, and Lunar Silver Star Story Complete is certainly an excellent representation for this concept. The art style in these games is just gorgeous to enjoy, and it's nothing crazy. It's simple. They're not wildly 3D animated or over the top, they're just simple and gorgeous with incredible colors. The voice acting in Lunar is definitely a step up from old school voice acting.
Its aim was to rule the world by organizing massacres, blackmailing, terrorism, and smuggling of weapons.
But it's not a far cry.
Is there something wrong with your eyes? Didn't you see the signs warning about the cranky, stinky, rude genius? Well, that's me, Mite. I hate noise, interruptions, and people. You're trespassing. Go away.
It's almost like it pays homage to it while also being pretty top tier and entertaining. The voice acting in Lunar Silver Star Story Complete for the PlayStation 1 is an absolute gem. And like a gem is a rock, so too is this game simple. The cast performances breathe life into the characters with a charm that just, withstands the test of time. The voices certainly captured the essence of each character, and their emotional delivery adds this layer, this profound layer to the narrative. While it may not have the complexity of modern voice acting, there's a timeless elegance in the straightforward yet, impactful performances that each actor so eloquently portrays. And I think that brings us to the reason this game has been so well regarded and beloved of fans for so long. Despite not having the $100 million budget of some games, despite not having the technology of today, despite not having such an extensive history of RPGs then as we do today for inspiration, Lunar Silver Star Story Complete is a masterpiece that shines today through its simplicity. We all, to some extent, have a desire to save the world. Nobody enjoys that the world is as messed up and as broken as it is, just like in Lunar. And this simple desire, regardless of how difficult the task might actually be, drives us to appreciate the opportunity to do so. Lunar is a simple game with a simple premise that makes for a compelling experience. Gaming discourse is important, folks, and we should continue.